well as a series of debates and case discussions. The general layout of the meeting will be Tuesday, starting with the HIPS Society meeting. Wednesday, we'll have the pre-meeting course as well as lunchtime symposia, case discussions, and a series of research papers, followed by the opening ceremonies. Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, we'll have research papers. On Thursday, we'll have our half-day courses, as well as an early career surgeon session. The application for education proposals will open on October 1st and close on November 1st. We ask SRS members to consider submitting proposals for the half-day courses, lunchtime symposium, as well as webinars for the 2022 year. The Education Committee really relies on the input from the membership and these submissions to help craft their educational program. And so we really encourage you to take some time to submit ideas for these courses, symposia, and webinars. The abstract submission for the 2022 meeting will open on November 1st of 2021 and will close on February 1st. Our abstract categories will remain similar as this year. Advanced registration will open in April of 2022, and it includes the standard fare and entrance to the meeting, opening ceremonies and receptions, as well as meeting materials and, of course, CME. We encourage everyone to attend next year's meeting. We hope that it will be an in-person meeting, and we wish you good health and prosperity until then. Thank you.
So if you think this meeting is fun, it could potentially be even more fun in Miami. Miami is world famous weather and beaches, great temperatures, almost like Southern California, as the third busiest airport for international passengers in the United States, 400 flights a day. We're going to be in intercontinental Miami. That's pretty fun. Lots of guest rooms, 15 minutes from the airport, and rooms are not too expensive. Here's the important dates. Educational session application is due October 1st. It's really soon. We pushed this back because we had some openings. And the important thing about IMAS, it's really important, is its innovation. You know, IMAS are the thing, you'll see things at IMAS you won't see at the annual meeting. We don't require as much follow-up. And this is how we can really get together and think of, you know, what's new. It should be very intellectually stimulating. So I hope to see you in Miami.
I'm just going to preview our hands-on courses. We can go backwards one. It's now the Global Education Assigned Conformity Committee that controls the hands-on courses, worldwide courses, and current concepts courses. And so our hands-on courses are back on. In fact, the course in the Netherlands is oversubscribed with a waiting list, with Bordeaux and Singapore just changed their dates slightly to accommodate the effects of the pandemic. The current concepts of assigned conformity courses will typically be paired with the regional spine society in that country. And what we've done is a global online course which starts November 1st. All of those presentations have been recorded, edited, and are open on November 1st. Once you do that self-paced learning, you can then do the keynote lectures, and they'll have live case discussions with the dates listed. Following that in 2022 will be Santiago and Warsaw. And the worldwide courses, these are the ones paired with our regional societies. ASECON typically occurs in January, February in India. That'll be a virtual course. The ones in Korea, Brazil, Mexico, Hong Kong, and China will hoping to be in person. Thanks very much, and Christian, for you. Thanks.
Well, good morning. One of the greatest honors and pleasures that I've had in my academic career is to have the opportunity to introduce Maher Azizi for his presidential address. And when I came onto the board, I asked Dave Polly, I said, you know, I know a lot of people on the board, but I don't really know Maher. And he said, you know, Maher can really just be summated by the words scholar, gentleman. If I get my talk back up again. So basically, this shows Aaron with a number of the SRS people back in one of our previous board meetings. And what's happening is again, this is, you know, from the weather thing, we serve a gentleman. And I'm going to tell you that if you look at Wikipedia, it really should be on the definition of the Aaron's picture there. He's a chivalrous, courteous, and honorable man. He always has the most impeccable taste, and the most impeccable way to engage people. And as I said, he is a special individual. I think that this can be demonstrated by his numerous friends. You can see him traveling throughout the world, and wherever Muharrem is, there's usually 10 people surrounding him and wanting to engage him because the engagement is such a positive experience. He is exquisitely educated, originally at Anchor University, and then at SEPI University, and then he went on and did a fellowship with Mark Asher at the University of Kansas. He was an associate professor in 1997, and has been a full professor at the university since 2003. And this shows some pictures showing, you know, you look back, and none of us look like what we did 25 years ago, but you can see again, there's always a group of people surrounding Aaron because of his inherent ability and charisma. This shows pictures from his residency and fellowship, and you can see the makings of what the exquisite surgeon that he has become, and pictures with Mark Asher. Now, when you say gentleman and scholar, the scholar portion is very, very important. And you can see that he is very well published. He's been a consistent publisher through the years and has a pretty substantial impact factor. But I think even more important are the papers that he has written. Some enormously high impact papers that have been cited hundreds or thousands of times and have really changed the face of spine surgery, deformity surgery. And this just shows a compendium of his most highly cited papers, looking at a variety of different things through the course of the years. It shows his thoughtfulness and evolution in some of the most exciting and compelling topics in the world of spine surgery and spine deformity. He's involved in numerous national and international societies. Thankfully, he has been very involved in the Scoliosis Research Society, having numerous roles in our organization through the course of the years. And this just shows him in a variety of different society meetings, and has had numerous leadership positions in many organizations. He's given talks throughout the world. He is a compelling and energetic speaker, and is always a delight to have for any program where Aaron participates. He's been involved in numerous editorial board activities, including some of the major spine journals throughout the world. He's edited two textbooks, one on the growing spine, one on idiopathic spine deformities in young children, and these are considered to be landmark publications that influence the care and treatment of young children throughout the world. He's a stellar surgeon, he's a family man, and he's truly a Renaissance man, as you can see in the next several pictures. He clearly had a fabulous upbringing to have the skills and talents that he has, and his ability to engage with personality showed that he clearly had a special upbringing. You can see here that about being a Renaissance man, these are pictures of Aaron involved in some artistic endeavors showing the breadth of his knowledge and his engagement. This shows him doing a variety of different sporting activities, from skiing, hiking, to whitewater rafting, to a variety of other activities that he is very engaged with. He's also somebody that's usually kind of the center of the party. You can see some fun and games saying constantly engaged and put him back on stage for his presidential meeting. As I mentioned, again, there's rarely a person who doesn't have multiple good things to say about Aaron, and he's considered a friend for many different people throughout the world. He is involved in a variety of different outreach activities, including in Bosnia, in Ghana, and other areas that should have been humanitarian Maharan is. His wife, Ryan, is a professor in dentistry at the same university. He has two wonderful children, highly talented children. His daughter Liz is marketing and is achieving an advanced degree in digital marketing. His son Amir has finished high school, but wishes to follow in his parents' footsteps, entering into a career of medicine. This just shows some family pictures of Maharan with his wife and his beautiful, wonderful children. So, in summary, we're in St. Louis, and I actually went to grade school in St. Louis, sort of maybe was considered sort of the peak of the baseball period here. And there's such an amazing history of baseball in the St. Louis area. And what happens is people said, well, he's a scholar and a gentleman. I think Maharan is more of a five-tool player. And those who follow baseball, five-tool players are the person that can do everything. That can hit, that can catch, and can run. And the fact is that with Maharan, as a scholar, as a gentleman, as a superb surgeon, as an outstanding leader, I think that if there's anything that defines Maharan, is the fact is he is a five-tool surgeon who has really been an outstanding leader in this very difficult time. And I want to give my highest congratulations to Maharan. It's been such a pleasure to work with him over the last several years. Thank you.
So much. Ladies and gentlemen, and dear SRS members, dear participants of 2021 SRS meetings. I had an enjoyable and gratifying academic career in spine surgery, but the opportunity to serve as president of SRS, the world's leading organization of spine deformity, was truly the pinnacle. I'm grateful for the opportunity you have given me to serve the society for last year. I will proudly carry this honor until the last day of my life, and it will be one of the most important legacies I leave to future generations. For me, it's been an interesting year. It was a year that had been more than a dream for many years, and one that I had been looking forward to for the past 2 years. But to tell you the truth, I never dreamed a year like this. I took over the presidency virtually. I was on the edge of becoming the first virtual president of SRS. I have to say that I'm thrilled to be able to get together again after 2 years, albeit with a level of participation well below the SRS norms. Thank you so much for stepping in this room with such a bravery today, despite a bravery today. Unfortunately, the most of our friends are unable to join us today despite their desire to do so. We miss them much and send my greetings to them through the cameras, hoping that this longing will pass quickly. Before joining the presidential line, I believe that the SRS presidency was a very difficult task that required a unique set of skills that only a few people were capable of handling it. Let me tell you a secret. Actually, it was not difficult at all. Floating the SRS ship is easier than you think, thanks to a perfectly constructed machine that runs flawlessly and the talented and dedicated individuals that operate it. Although the ship seems to have just one captain from the outside, SRS is possibly one of the best examples of teamwork in the world. Before I give you a brief summary about last year, I'd like to express my gratitude to those who made this year, even during COVID days, easier and more manageable for me. I've known Paul for many years. We collaborated at GSSG and became partners in a number of the projects. One of the most significant benefits of my PL years, though, was getting to know Paul better. Aside from his friendship, I appreciate for his constant help, wisdom, and support. For me, another advantage of PL was getting to know Chris. I knew he was a strong character from a scientific standpoint, but I was astonished by his problem-solving and leadership skills. We are extremely fortunate to have such an outstanding president in SRS. I would like to be able to work with Gloria more closely and come up with SRS ideas together. Life doesn't always provide us with pleasant experiences. I wish her a long and healthy life and hope to see her again in the future. My thoughts and prayers are with her. Serena didn't hesitate to take risks in difficult situations, grabbing gold by the arms with a great sacrifice. Board of Directors, no other organization could have put together such an incredible, outstanding team as the SRS. Working with you has been a pleasure, and I consider myself rewarded. The SRS is great with its committees and devoted members who work tirelessly on those committees. Each committee has accomplished extraordinary jobs this year as did their predecessors. Their efforts are above all praise. And actually, we are fortunate to have such a leader in SRS. Under her leadership, the entire EDI team has worked harder than ever this year. They are deserving of a big applause. Please, Jamie. What did we do last year and how did it go? Let's go over everything in quick order. Just before the pandemic imprisoned us in our homes, we gathered in DC for strategic planning under the leadership of Paul and made very important decisions. Immediately after inline with these decisions, we established 7 task forces listed here. In the following days, we added 2 more task forces to this list: diversity, equity, inclusion, and SRS WNS joint task force. Although the task force names are self-explanatory, I would like to make a very brief explanation about the topics we focused on in 2021. We are trying to identify and fix the aspects that don't work well by reviewing our current organization's team. We aim to contribute to the education of SRS not only for spinal researchers but also for all stakeholders who in some way have contact with patients with deformed spine, and we try to determine the needs for this. By revising the MNS reporting system, which is a very unique thing for SRS, we are looking for ways to transform it into a format that aims to improve both research and surgery performance. We want to understand our patients better and create a platform where they can find answers to all their questions about their problems. We are determined to use podcast technology, one of the most popular modern communication tools, much more effectively. One of our main goals is to eliminate all kinds of inequality and discrimination under SRS. For this purpose, we are developing new projects to make our young colleagues more visible in SRS and maximize the contributions of the spine deformity surgeons from neurosurgery training backgrounds to SRS. Finally, in order to further strengthen the work leader position of SRS in spine deformity education, we are focused on a new planning that takes our educational activities with a holistic approach and evaluates traditional and modern education together in a plan. The vast majority of task forces have finished their work and delivered their reports. These reports, the results of a tremendous amount of work by enthusiastic, devoted, and talented members, were discussed in depth in the latest board meeting. Some of the suggestions that were provided to us have already been put in action. The others will be implemented in the near future according to a set schedule and in order of importance. For example, organizations structure task force suggests to focus on some new area, and this need for task force is already implemented. I would like to share small examples. The code SRS that SRS leadership enjoys repeating most is research is our middle name. This is not an empty claim for a society that has allocated more than $2 million for research in the last 10 years. SRS, on the one hand, enables dissemination of current research with NOV and IMAX, facilitating with different content in the science, and will play a guiding role with directed research programs. SRS has a solid track record in the directed research, as do ASLS and OREF SRS enforcement grants. We turn a new page this year in continuation of this proud background. We recently informed of the announcement of a new $450,000 directed research grant. We will have a very strong scientific evidence for the very long-term effects of AIS thanks to this grant. With the M&M data collected from its members for many years, SRS has also undertaken the registry function in a sense that is different from other societies. Although it has many deficiencies, this data also serves as a source for very important research articles. With the reorganization of M&M Committee, in line with the PPRTF recommendations, and the app-based modernization of its data capturing system, SRS is preparing to lead in this field as well. RFPs for the SRS app have been compiled and discussed on the board, and the project will begin soon. You understand how RFPs go the entire year without completing a single face-to-face meeting for a society that has made education one of its main missions. Although COVID-19 distanced SRS from its members physically and socially, it didn't increase the motivation and enthusiasm of the society. We have hosted many webinars, and I'm very pleased to see that these webinars attracted a large number of viewers. In the light of the lessons we learned from last year, we organized a much more effective and successful IMS. I'm very happy that we were able to carry out at least 2 scientific activities before the end of the year. The first WWC was in Russia. The SRS faculty unfortunately was unable to make it to this in November, but the meeting was at least in a hybrid format. And finally, 4 days ago, we were able to contribute a real SRS activity in Mexico. I can wholeheartedly say that we have completed the year very actively. We wait a long time, missed a lot, and are finally having a scientific festival with a real annual meeting since the beginning of the week. SRS meetings have always been a venue for sharing the most recent, up-to-date, and trendy information. SRS has chosen the philosophy of never sacrificing the scientific solidity of the works presented on the platform, while demonstrating great sensitivity to not fall behind the times. Following the top titles of prior year's SRS papers may allow us to track trends in the field of spinal deformity. We can easily observe how teams that were popular for a few years and were a major part of the program are gradually being phased out and eventually disappear entirely. We at SRS have a huge responsibility to transmit the most relevant and updated information. However, we must avoid the bandwagon effect while doing so. In the last part of this talk, I would like to invite you to think together on this subject by making a short reminder about the bandwagon effect. Zachary Taylor, the 12th United States President, probably didn't think he would be creating a well-defined psychological phenomenon when he climbed aboard the clown bandwagon in 1848 for campaigning purposes, even though it certainly contributed to him being elected. Nowadays, you will not see clowns in the funny outfits riding Arctic vessels in the sea surfaces as often. But bandwagon is about, and social media driven, namely FOMO, fear of missing out, makes sure we jump from one to other. The bandwagon effect denotes the tendency of humans to scramble and get with the most popular trend around. Since the history of humankind, bandwagons have abounded. Atlantic most commonly are found in the worlds of sports and politics, where mass popularity has great impact. In a sociological experiment, it was shown that up to 6% of voters will change their preference based on the predicted winner. We are susceptible to the bandwagon effect because we are human. We want to be popular. We want to belong. We want to have common ground with our peers so we can have stimulating discussions. We like being on the winning team, and we like success. As we as humans also like quick and easy solutions to complex problems. The bandwagon effect provides this, as our brain tells us that. So many people are good at it. It can't be wrong. We skip the careful consideration and critical thinking phase and jump straight to the conclusion. As physicians and surgeons, we also have devoted our lives to helping people. So treatments that promise healthy solutions to suffering become very attractive to us. This began back in the days when Asclepius, the god of medicine, whose stuff we still carry as a symbol of medicine, was popular. His followers had snake leg afflicted to the effect of cure for disease. And so it started the bandwagons in medicine and continued with bloodletting, miasma as a cause of bubonic plague, cigarettes for weight loss, opium for babies in the cough, and one of the most common surgical procedures was lectomy. That may be one of the most overutilized procedures in the modern times. Orthopedic surgery has a share from arthroscopic bleeding for muscular practice to glucosamine and conjunctive oral supplements, minimally invasive joint replacement, to discussion of damage control versus early definitive care, chest and osteotomies for Perthes disease. Treatments are introduced, are eagerly adopted and applied across the board, then as studies are published and results come in, eventually reserved for the patients with the correct indications. We call this the pendulum. It swings one way and the other, and finally settles on appropriate care. But at the cost of many patients who went through surgical procedure and complications simply because it was the popular thing to do at the time. In the spine world, we observe this pattern previously in the EOS implants and are probably seeing it in new, shiny VPT. Minimally invasive and mobility preserving, it promises to be an panacea for the young person with AIS, and everyone is excited about it. Most serious children's hospitals are advertising it. The more patients are asking for it. Everybody is talking about it. and posting pristine pictures of before and after Easter on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Just as the shiny, happy people on the beaches smell of better lives on Instagram, so striking this metric implies and corrected curves that, of course, the owner of the account assures us were posted with the patient's permission. There is no question that VPT is an exciting new method and that it promises great results in appropriately selected patients, but the end all be all for all AIs is certainly not. We must exercise caution on the way of excitement. It's only too human to get swept up in and use our formidable skills, knowledge, and past experience to judiciously select the patients that will truly benefit from this method. The key to resistant bandwagon effect lies in awareness. We must recognize the attraction of the popular and new, our drive to belong to the elite group of innovators, and our desire to deliver patients from suffering. To do that, we must continue to carry out rigorous scientific research, support our residents and fellows who have critical thinking, and independent thought, create inclusive and diverse environments where every voice is heard equally, and beware of adopting ideas before we have a complete grasp of how and when they should be applied. Not all bandwagons are empty. Some of them will turn out to be everything that they promise, as John Charlie said and us. Ale, Harrington experimentation, CD, vertical body testing may very well be the future of the field, and we shouldn't miss the train because we are afraid of getting on board too quickly either. As with many things in life, the key lies in finding a balance between innovation and tradition. To conclude my speech once again, I would like to express my gratitude to everyone who has given me the privilege of speaking to you from this stage. My family, especially my dear wife, who has patiently and devotedly supported me throughout my career and during my difficult presidency here, deserves the greatest thanks. Without their continued support, none of this would have been possible. Thank you.